So I attended my best friend's wedding last year in January and met many of her friends, okay? So we were having a lot of dance routines and all together, so we became really close to each other. As it was a Christian wedding, there was a lot of really good non-vegetarian food options. This one friend of hers claimed to be a vegetarian, and I felt really sorry for him because there was hardly any vegetarian options. Later, when the caterers were packing up, I saw him at the corner, alone, by himself, eating chicken wings. At this point, I felt shocked and betrayed. Again, last year during Christmas, I met my best friend and her partner, and I shared this with her, brought this up, and I criticized him for lying to us. And she said, Sonu, he has been struggling a lot lately. He has a lot of issues with his eating habits. Actually, he has an eating disorder. As friends, we are all trying our level best to help him. Imagine my surprise. Suddenly, a pang of guilt washed over me. I, a mental health professional, judged a person just like that. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, please don't feel embarrassed or anything. I'm just going to ask you a few questions. Please feel free to raise your hands, all right? Is that cool? Okay. So, how many of you have thought or said, oh, what a lazy person, when someone puts off things, never does anything on time, and is always making excuses? Okay. How many of you have called someone too emotional or too sensitive? Fair enough. Okay. How many of you have or would have gotten really frustrated and angry when you're so hungry and you're in a restaurant and they take forever to just make a decision and order food? Yep. Been there, done that. All of us, yeah? A lot of us. So the truth is that there are multiple things going on in the lives of people around us that we have absolutely no clue about. We tend to judge others without understanding their struggles. The person in front of us is a culmination of every single thing that has happened to them since the inception of their life. And many people have experienced trauma that has resulted in patterns of thoughts and behaviors that are challenging for them. This is not to justify their actions or behavior, but it does not negate the fact that they require help and support. We tend to see trauma as a negative event that happened to us, right? But trauma is not what happened to you. It's what happened inside of you as a result of what happened to you. Trauma can cause us to isolate ourselves, but the road to recovery requires us to connect with other people. Now, building meaningful relationships and opening up to trusted individuals like family and friends, it helps us feel supported and connected with each other, and it helps us to work through our experiences. The healing of trauma cannot be achieved in isolation. It requires comfort, support, and connection with other people. Now, let me explain what trauma does to us using the Polyvagal theory, or the science of connection. Now, it explains to us what the impact of trauma is on our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, which is the foundation of our lived experience. According to Deb Dana, an author and a clinician, this theory has 3 organizing principles. It is hierarchy, neuroception, and co-regulation. Now, hierarchy refers to the 3 states that our nervous system takes us through multiple times every single day. All right? So it has connection, which is rest and digest space, social and safe, it can be also called ventral. Second one is mobilization or fight or flight response, which is sympathetic. And the third one is disconnection or collapse or shut down or freeze, which is the dorsal vagal. Please make sure that you remember these words at least Connection, social and safe, ventral, and mobilization, fight or flight. Disconnection, shut down, freeze. Yeah, because I'll be using these words throughout the talk. These states, these three states, can be thought of as a ladder with which we can move up or down by activating or by relaxing our nervous system, which is based on the reception of various stimuli or neuroception. Now, this is a very predictable hierarchy that can only be moved through in sequence, yeah? Even when we are shut down, we have to pass through mobilization to reach the stage of connection. Even if it is briefly, we have to move through it in sequence itself. Neuroception is the ability that we have to receive, or the nervous system receives their cues that tells it whether it has to move into connection stage or to protection stage. The nervous system is constantly listening to whether this information is coming from inside the body, from the outside environment, or from between the nervous systems. And our nervous system gets this information every microsecond. And this is below the level of our thinking brain, which means that even before the information goes to our brain, everything has to pass through our nervous system. Co-regulation. Co-regulation tells us that we are wired to be in connection with others. So basically, our nervous system is longing to be connected to other nervous systems. It's a biological imperative, and we cannot survive without it. So when we encounter something new in our lives, our nervous system instinctively comes to a binary question, okay? Asks a binary question. And that is this a threat to life or is this safe? Instinctively. At this point, the brain is not yet engaged. And this nervous system relies on our senses, which is our sight, our smell, our hearing, our touch, and our intuition, to make a very quick decision. So this process creates a triangular block. Let's think of it as a triangular block, okay? So the top point is the brain, and the wall below is the nervous system. And every interaction that comes through this wall is initially evaluated either as a threat or as safe. And if it is deemed safe, then the nervous system opens up a connection to the brain. Otherwise, mobilization or disconnection. Now, it is this, our body has this remarkable ability to make this quick decision in a fraction of a millisecond. And if you have had previous bad experiences, our nervous system just goes, the last time this happened, it was really difficult. So let's avoid that from happening again. So we just go to mobilization or disconnection immediately. Allow me to share an example of a common conflict that happens between my partner and me. So let's look at it as Suhana is a person who values her independence greatly and is often engrossed in her work. Okay? So on occasion, Abu asks her, "Do you want help?" And this simple question can trigger a traumatic response within Suhana, where she has probably been asked the same question and met with criticisms after that and been told that she can never do anything right. So in response to Abu, immediately Suhana can react very defensively and just ask Abu to leave her alone. Unfortunately, at this point, this dismissal can make Abu feel rejected because Abu shows his love through acts of service. And at this point, Suhana and Abu may become dysregulated, and this tension can easily escalate into a full-blown argument. For those who have experienced severe trauma, where fight or flight is not even an option, which means that, for example, let's take the case of a child who has been abused by a caregiver or so. So in this point, the child can't even defend themselves from this person, so fight is not an option. Can't even run away, so flight is not an option. The child feels helpless and falls into the freeze response or the disconnection, collapse, shutdown response. At this point, when the shutdown response happens, it is even possible for the person to faint. When you shut down, when you freeze, your body is also off or frozen for you. You disconnect from within your body as well. And then you have a tendency to push yourself towards isolation. And all anxiety is separation anxiety. So you end up feeling alone in your pain and your trauma as well. And you obviously cannot go to your caregiver with this pain because you already feel like they do not understand your feelings. You already went into the freeze state because of that. So during these moments of mobilization and disconnection, individuals require social connection to regulate their nervous system and to reach the ventral state or the connection state, which is the only place where they can thrive by being themselves. And it is very ironic that when we need connection the most, we end up pushing ourselves towards isolation the most. So how is it possible for us to co-regulate and nourish our nervous system? What do we need to do to stay and to move to our ventral, where we can feel trust, we can feel connection and attachment? Let's again take Suhana and Abu's example, okay? So they need to learn to co-regulate, build connection with each other, and realize that they are not threats to one another. Now, Abu could also use a different approach in talking to Suhana and maybe ask her, is there any way in which I can offer love to you by providing warmth and support to her? Suhana, on the other hand, could learn to take a pause, observe the situation, really ask herself, is this really a threat to her life? By taking a deep breath, she can allow her nervous system to open to cognition and accept Abu's warmth and love and support. This way, by regulating their nervous system together, they can both move to the ventral stage. So, Abu always does this thing where when he notices that Suhana is dysregulated, he asks this question, what pain of yours am I not seeing? This brings Suhana back to her present moment and helps her feel understood. Where he also sometimes asks, how can I love you better today? And let me tell you, this approach is often successful in building connections and resolving conflicts. It works like a charm. But not everyone has access to these nurturing and supportive peers, yeah? For example, I recently heard someone say that people who die by suicide are selfish cowards and rebellious children who don't listen to their parents. If only their parents had shown a little bit of kindness or empathy to them instead of raising their voices, or if their society had offered support and help instead of judging them for their WhatsApp statuses or for removing their profile pictures, many more individuals would have been on the path to recovering from depression. Those with mental illnesses are often ignored and sent back home when they report physical symptoms, which further leads them to isolation and loneliness. Trauma isolates people, and the healing from it requires connection with others. Not just connection with the healer, but also with supporters, peers, and partners. In healing, it is essential to have a give and take relationship that reminds us that we're not alone and that we're all connected. Humans crave social connections in various forms, such as forming communities, communicating calmly, showing physical affection, offering words of affirmation by giving and receiving gifts, spending quality time together, basically all the 5 love languages, writing letters or poems, and even sending text messages or sending memes or emojis. In fact, even just standing on the balcony and just greeting at each other. Creating these new and trustworthy connections can be very challenging, but being alone is not natural to us. We need to create an informed and caring circle of individuals around us, and it's important that we become that person for the people around us. By expressing kindness, showing genuine interest, and being approachable. Being both the recipient and giver of these qualities in relationships can help us heal wounds, replace loneliness with companionship, and experience the double benefit of healing another person while also healing ourselves. Dr. Vikram Patel, psychiatrist, researcher, and professor, suggests that one of the most important steps towards improving mental health care is to deprofessionalize it. He recommends taking mental health directly to the population and increasing awareness and literacy about mental health among the population or the general population. Now, this can be achieved by providing tools and resources to ordinary citizens. He also suggests using community health workers, such as the ASHA worker model, to start providing mental health care alongside the care of other diseases. This approach has the potential to reduce the burden on mental health professionals and increase access to care for those who need it the most. And by empowering individuals and health, we can create a much more sustainable and effective mental health care system. Which leads me to the nexus of today's talk. While I wholly believe that it is essential to recognize the importance of mental health professionals and their evidence-based treatments, effective treatments in providing high-quality care for those with mental health issues, I'd like to point out, with the instances that I've recollected today, that it is important that we can educate ourselves to make better decisions and support our peers as well as the community at large. Prevention is obviously better than Prevention is obviously better than cure. So let's deprofessionalize mental health care. And let's empower individuals and communities to take care of their own mental health by bringing the following practices into notice. Number one, by increasing mental health literacy, by empowering individuals to take care of their own mental health, by using tools and resources, by identifying early signs of mental illness, and by making sure that access to proper care is given to individuals, by utilizing the community health workers, such as the ASHA worker model, to be trained to provide basic mental health care to people, and identify individuals who need immediate help, by strengthening the community-based services, by creating support groups and providing training to family members and to supporters and to community leaders, by providing mental health services in non-traditional settings like schools, workplaces, universities, community centers. This helps in reducing stigma and increases accessibility. So let's together shift from a place of moral high ground, traditionalized medical approach towards creating a compassionate, connected community for all. That's my vision for the future of mental health. And to be very honest, my community is also here today, the smallest one that I have created by myself, a give and take relationship. And that's the only way in which we can move forward and feel love and feel support and warmth. So thank you to my community for providing me with so much warmth and support. And with that, I can finally say thank you for coming to my TED Talk.